Welcome to Top Shelf Tech Updates. Today we're talking about the recently announced availability of AWS Outposts in New Zealand. So firstly, we're going to talk about just what AWS Outposts are. So Outposts are effectively AWS in your own private data centre, and it's now available to New Zealand customers via the Sydney region. What it is it's standard and fully featured AWS services. That means there's parity of service between the services offered in Outpost and what you'd find in AWS's public cloud services. So consistent APIs, consistent services, so you can build and deploy code as you normally would on AWS. In terms of what Outposts consist of, it's really the most common AWS services that you'd use. That includes EC2 nodes, elastic block storage, and container services, some database services, and S3 storage coming in the near future. Of course, there'll be more and more services added, and as they add these services, you'll be able to do more with storing and processing data on-premise in your own data center. In terms of ordering an Outpost, that's a pretty standard process if you're already using AWS. Essentially, you just jump into the AWS console, you go through, you order an Outpost, sounds easy. It gets shipped, installed, and then launched in your own data center, at which point you can start to build services and deploy them as you normally would through the AWS console. So creating an Outpost, as you can see in the GUI, is pretty much like the same as deploying other AWS services. Fill in the form, put in the name, the description, the site that you're deploying it to, and away you go. When you deploy it, what it looks like is essentially just another availability zone, which is your local outpost in your regional VPC. So as I said, for New Zealand customers, this is an extension of the Sydney region. So you'd see your local data center, your AWS Outpost, as another availability zone within that VPC. What actually gets delivered with an Outpost? Well, it really is just AWS's hardware, which is specialized hardware built for hyperscale cloud computing deployed into your data centers. That includes hosts, it includes network services, it includes power control units, and then patch panels so that you can patch it into your upstream network. If you want more details on that, really recommend watching this video. It's a really cool behind the scenes look at how AWS builds some of the technology in their data centers, which is quite different and quite a lot more modular than your traditional data centers. Some really neat stuff there around how you plug it in. We'll post a link to that video in the comments section, so you can go have a look at that if you're interested. But yeah, what does this really mean for New Zealand customers? As we grow the use of edge computing, as we grow use cases around low latency processing with stuff like IoT, stuff like machine learning, where we're trying to get and process a lot of data and with low latency and make decisions, pass that back to, it could be a autonomous vehicle, could be any number of things. Outposts really helps with that. It really helps with stuff as well, like if you've got software or that doesn't really tolerate much latency, or you've got other hardware applications that need to be in close proximity to your data center. Outposts helps with all of that, so it means for Kiwis and Kiwi businesses, now you have the availability to choose AWS in a local data center of your choosing and click and order it pretty seamlessly through your AWS console. So cool to see that arriving, and more investment in what we can do in New Zealand. Cheers.